Hey everybody, welcome to Life Worthy with Kate, and I'm Kate. I have been off of YouTube for quite a while now, with the main reason that I've been doing more on Facebook. To give you guys a quick update, today is September 20th, and or 21st actually, I think. And anyway, it's Saturday, and I have been on plan now for 9 months. And to give you an idea, in that 9-month period of time, I have lost 75 pounds, and I have now maintained that 75-pound weight loss for 2 months. So this is still totally doable. I'm doing really well on this. I kind of went off program for about a week as we were going through some family events and such, and I was still pretty much on plan, but one of the good things about maintenance is you don't have to be super strict. It's all about balance, and so that's what I've done. We've had quite a bit of balance in our life lately, and so I am going back on 5-1 for a couple of days just to get the 2 pounds I have to lose off. So I mean, it's really totally doable. And honestly, I am still staying on some of the products, partly because they're easy. They're much easier than me having to prep out all of these little snacks every day. I can just grab the bars or grab the stuff and go, and not have to think about it. So I like that aspect. But like I tell everybody, once you are down to the weight you want to be at, and you're happy with that, you definitely don't have to stay on the 5-1. We do transition off and onto whole foods, which is one of the best parts of this program. It's sustainable. But that being said, I decided to celebrate my kind of beginning or end of September, beginning of October kind of restart here. And I did so by buying a couple of things I've never tried before, one of which is the Frosty Mint Chocolate Soft Serve. So I've been craving ice cream like nobody's business, and if you know me, you know I'm actually a complete coffee fiend. So, or not coffee fiend, ice cream fiend. So because of that, I really wanted to try this. I have not tried it yet. I'm doing what I did with my reviews back at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to actually show you how I make it and let you know what it tastes like the first try. So what do I need to make my Frosty mint coffee or chocolate? Good grief, I can't talk. Frosty Mint Chocolate Soft Serve. By the way, this is my breakfast this morning. Gotta love that. So I have my personal blender. This thing is my buddy. It is not an expensive Ninja or anything like this. This is a chef style personal blender, which is I think I bought it for $16, honestly. Like, it was an H-E-B, Target find, something like that. So I have half a cup of crushed ice. I always like to start with crushed because my blender handles it better. You could certainly start with cubes if your blender is more powerful than mine, but mine tends to like this better. And one of the cool things about these soft serves is that essentially all we're going to do is blend up this ice, then pour in the water and the shake and blend it up again. And that's it. I've done this with most of the shakes in the past. I like it with the peanut butter shake quite a bit. So yeah, so you screw the blender lid on, pop it in. All right, my ice is pretty much blended up. It's not completely perfect, but that's okay. Sometimes it needs the 2 ounces of water. I think you always follow the back of the instructions. Always, always. Okay, so it says to go ahead and add in the sachet, which is what I'm going to do. Sachet is a fancy term for envelope. So empty the envelope of powdered food into blender. Comment on the powdered foods. To give you an idea of how thick this is, it is sitting there. But once I open this, it's going to plop. Watch this. Of course, now it's cold. It may actually be that. There it goes. Kind of plopped down to the bottom, sort of. But it is very thick. You can see it's holding peaks. So if this was whipped cream, I would say we're at stiff peaks, which is good. And yes, I am in fact going to get all of the ice cream off. Oh, dude, that is like, you can really taste the mint. Okay, so I am totally taking this stuff and freezing it into popsicles next summer. Heck, I'm in South Texas. It's still popsicle season, so I may just be doing that. Oh my goodness. So it's really good. It's about the consistency, pretty much of soft serve. You can definitely taste the mint. That's really good. That is really, really good. So, yeah, you definitely taste the mint. You taste the chocolate. It's kind of silky, but definitely ice cream. See? See the peaks and everything. So one of my favorite things about OPTAVIA is that I get to pick whichever of the fuelings I want to have for any of my meals of the day. Except my lean grain, that one's not a fueling. And basically, my goodness, if I want ice cream for breakfast, I can have ice cream for breakfast. But basically, my normal day, my work day, normal day, is going to be either coffee with a shake mixed into it, or the berry O's. Now, I will tell you, one of the interesting things about the cereal is that you either love it or you hate it. But I noticed that most of the people that hate it don't make it right. Let me explain. So, the Berrios, they're cereal, right? And eating cereal dry is great if you're two, or if you're in the car running around. But the reality is that this is not your typical cereal. So eating it dry makes your mouth really dry, and you need to drink a lot of water with it. And it's kind of missing something, honestly, from a flavor standpoint. But if you mix it, or if you use it with some almond milk, it takes about half a cup of almond milk, which is half of a condiment, guys. That's like nothing. It's like 1/4 of a teaspoon of spices. I mean, come on. If I'm making something that's not going to make a lot of, or take a lot of condiments in the evening, I'll a lot of times do this for breakfast because I can use some condiments on it. So I will use half of a condiment of almond milk. If I feel like it, I don't always do this, but sometimes I will add half a tablespoon of Walden Farms sugar-free pancake syrup to it as well. To kind of sweeten it up. I like it a lot. I mean, no, it's not going to replace your Fruit Loops, but I do enjoy it, and it is one of my favorite fuelings. So if I have time for cereal in the morning, I will do that. I'll be honest with you, I am not a morning person. Anybody who's known me pretty much my whole life and has had to deal with me in the mornings knows that. I'm not necessarily cranky, but I can't think straight. So I do my thinking internally, but I can't express it very well, I guess, until I've woken up a bit. So anyway, if I have time, I will do the red berries, but most of the time I don't. So most of the time it is a cup of coffee with a shake mixed into it, preceded by a full 12 ounces of water to offset the coffee. So basically, if I drink the 12 ounces of water, then I have 12 ounces of coffee, I am essentially back at zero. So I'll drink another 8 ounces within the next 45 minutes or so to really get me going on my hydration. But I usually have that about 7 a.m. And then I actually have my second fueling at 10, which is 3 hours later. And when I have that one, it's generally a bar because the mornings are really, honest to goodness, my most busy time. I am now an OPTAVIA health coach. And so, a certified OPTAVIA health coach. Yes, I did pass the certification exam. And so basically, as a health coach, part of what I do is every morning I check in with my clients who are on their first week. Again, not a morning person, but I do care about my clients, so I want to make sure that they're starting the day off right. So I send them a text message every morning, letting them know, encouraging them for their day, sending them some top tips and a little video that the company has so graciously helped put together with some of the other coaches. So it's not just me that they're hearing everything from, they're hearing it from some coaches who've been in it much longer than I have, which is always nice to have that support, that confirmation. And in addition to that, I will ask them if anything's going on in their day, and I'll set up a time to talk with them that afternoon when I am awake and capable of being supportive and everything. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm usually awake by 10:30, but just prior to that, I'm not happy. So in the afternoon is when I usually do my client calls, but I can schedule in space around them, around my feelings. So yeah, the morning is kind of my busy time. I'm sitting there texting a lot and all that. So because of that, and I also post a transformational story every morning on my Facebook feed. So that way everybody can get inspired just like I was. Because those stories really made a difference for me. And certainly going along the path, seeing that other people have succeeded has done a lot for me as well. So there's that. So anyway, so I have my second fueling, my bar, around 10. And then I have my next one at noon. And from there on out, I'm on an every 3 hour schedule. So I kind of go 10 to 12 being a 2-hour block. So oftentimes for my quote lunch, I will do either a brownie or a cookie because I'm a massive sugar nut and I happen to enjoy it. So yeah, as a sugar nut, a brownie is a really good lunch. And then usually at 3 o'clock, I will have either a cruncher. So I have jalapeno cheddar poppers. I like those. They do get spicy as you eat them. Eat the first one, it's no big deal. You keep eating them and spice kind of builds. So usually they're good to have mid-afternoon when I may have been slumping back on my hydration a little bit because it will remind me I need to drink. So I'll do that, and then I usually have another bar somewhere around 5:30 or 6. 5:30 or 6 I'll have another bar, and again it's because that's a busy part of my day. So in my day, my 5 to 6 time frame is actually when I start trying to get the office ready to close up. But it's also when I go to the grocery store to get our groceries for dinner. And not everyone can do that. I could not do that up until this past July. So we had a major change in our life, which is that we shifted offices. And our new office is much closer to our home, which is a huge life changer for us. But in addition to being closer to home, it's also right across the alleyway or the street from the H-E-B, which is our grocery store here in Texas. Not our only grocery store, but we're in San Antonio, which is the headquarters of the H-E-B. It's pretty much our grocery store. And it's a really good one, so that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing at all. So I will go there, and usually I will do a walk and talk, which is what I call my Facebook Lives, when I'm on my way over to the grocery store and while I'm pulling out my groceries and stuff like that. If it's a new recipe that I'm trying, I might talk about what recipe I'm doing. Other times I'm going in there and I know I'm not going to have a lot of time, so I'll be going in and getting one of the Nutrition Support Approved Meal Simples, which is the chef prepared meals, which you just go home and throw in the oven. They're great. So that gets me through, all 5 of my fuelings. And then at the end of the day, after we get home, usually around 7:30, 8 o'clock, we have our lean and green. And our lean and green is typically, not always, but typically, seafood during the week, because if we can stick to seafood and the lower carbohydrate vegetables during the week, then we can have a little bit more freedom and leeway during the weekend to when we go out to eat with my in-laws and my son. I do have a 15-year-old. And so because of all of that, we try desperately to make sure that our weeknight meals are in the lowest fat and the lowest or lower carbohydrate list. Excuse me for the burps. That was good ice cream. But basically, I'm full all day because of that. I mean, if you think about it, it's like every time I turn around, it's almost time to eat again. So how do I manage that with my schedule? Well, again, my first one's at home. I'm going to have that cup of coffee regardless. So because I'm going to have that cup of coffee regardless, mixing that shake into it does not take me any more time. And honestly, other than that, I probably wouldn't eat breakfast most mornings because I am rushing out the door and I don't have time to sit down and eat a bowl of cereal. So that's the first thing. or any other breakfast. God forbid I try to cook breakfast. Good Lord. That would be tough on me. Weekends, it's a little different, but not on work days. So that second one is a bar. It takes 1.5 minutes to eat at most. It's approximately 5 bites. So however slow or fast you eat it, 5 bites. That is no different than eating a granola bar at my desk. Let's face it, again, no different than what I was doing before, just better nutrition in that bar. My third one was that brownie. Brownie takes 1:30 total to make, about 15 seconds to mix up, and 1:15 to cook. And you know, eating it takes me another 2 to 3 minutes because I tend to take really small bites because I enjoy it. Plus, that's kind of my lunch, so I tend to take a little more time with it. My bar in the afternoon, again, I'm busy. Gotta move. My poppers, my crunchers. Those honestly probably take me 20 to 25 minutes to eat. They are the ones that take the longest, which is really funny because it's not huge. But here's my thing. First off, they are dry, so they do make you drink more water, which is a good thing. But secondarily, I find that if I eat them too fast, I kind of look down and go, where'd they go? And at that point in the afternoon, I'm usually wanting something in my mouth. That's always been my snack time. And honestly, it's when I used to go to really bad snacks. So I take my time with those crunchers, and it kind of kills that desire to snack. And then my bar in the afternoon, or the late evening, again, is fast. And then the lean and green at home usually takes me about 20 minutes to make. Some of them are faster, some of them are slower. It really depends on the protein that I'm making, because you got to remember, regardless of what you're cooking, you have to give the oven time to warm up, and you have to let that protein get up to a safe minimum temperature, which is higher than what most of us actually cook to. So I'm careful about this. I've had food poisoning too many times. Thankfully, I've never given food poisoning to myself. I've gotten it at restaurants before, but I will do anything to avoid getting food poisoning. So because of that, I am super, super careful with the temperature of my proteins. And so, yeah, it takes me a little bit of time, but if I say, okay, it's going to take me 20 minutes to make this meal and about 10 minutes to eat it, let's face it. If I had gone to a restaurant, waited to be seated, sat down, waited to get my water, waited to order, waited for the food to come, and then eaten, it would have taken me longer than it did to come home and cook. Now, I understand that not everybody can go to the grocery store their last hour of the day at work so that they have the fresh groceries immediately. I did not have this ability until July 4th. Up until then, I used Instacart a lot. I would call in, or I would put my order in to Instacart on Thursday, and I would have it shipped to my house or brought to my house on Saturday morning before everything got started, so that if I was going to be meal prepping anything, which I don't do normally, there are a couple of recipes I will do that with. Pizza being one of them. If I want pizza, part of it is I don't want to have to cook, right? So if I'm doing pizza for a lean and green during the week, I might make the crust on Saturday and just stick it in the freezer. It works perfectly fine. Can you get cauliflower crusts that are plant approved on Amazon and Whole Foods? Yeah, you can. But why? I mean, yes, for a time saver, they're great. But honestly, I like being able to make my own because I can make it as the thickness that I want it to be. And I can also decide whether I want to make 2 small pizzas, one for me and one for my husband, or whether I want to make one big pizza and just cut it in half. Either way. So, yeah, that's one that I will meal prep. But that way I would have all my groceries already on Saturday. Whatever time during the weekend I had to meal prep, I would do it. and then I get going with my week. I'm enjoying going to the grocery store every evening because it gives me the chance to really pick out what sounds good to me for that day, and what looks good at the grocery store. We all know sometimes some bit of produce looks a little better than something else. So there's my general rule of thumb. That's my general day, and it works pretty well. So my review on the Frosty mint chocolate soft serve is that it is really good. It is quite filling, actually, and it is not hard to make at all. Blender, ice, water, powder. So yeah, there you go. Have a great day.